Okay. Hello, Friday people. Can I tell you first of all that today's story does include mention of delicate issues, but this is not other than to explore a conundrum. It's not an excuse to show rude pictures, so please don't rush away. This is a family show. Let's go back 6 weeks or so to my holiday in Spain. I'm sitting around with my fag hag and bestie, a married woman, and two gay guys who are recently a couple, and at some point or other it fell to exploring my fairly recent single status, and indeed, while we're at it, let's unpack Peter's entire sexual history. This has to happen every so often. So I'll give you a quick summary that I was and identified secretly. I was in the closet, but I was definitely actively gay from about 14 until I met the most wonderful woman in the world when I was 23. Got married for 30 years, and I've got two wonderful grown-up children. While I was in my gay phase as a teenager, I don't think I ever looked at a girl. I certainly don't recall doing that. And when I was married, I don't think I ever looked at a guy or a woman. So I wasn't disturbed either way by opposite feelings. Now, about a year after I moved away to find a new life from my marriage, I realised that my emotional, romantic, sexual orientation had reverted to its teenage mode. And I've been lucky enough to have two long-term male sexual partners in life, and the most recent of whom I'm still friends with, and I value that. And while I was with my homo partners, I don't ever recall looking at a woman. I may have gazed at the odd guy, but not a woman. So as I saw it, my lodestone had swung about, but had never pointed in two directions at the same time. My compass needle is not bidirectional. So this incoming missile, talking to the friends in Spain, just took me completely by surprise. It's the first time this has ever happened in my life. I think it was one of the guys said, "So you're bisexual then?" What? I've never thought of or identified as bisexual, and that's not just because the stigma of being bi, until recently perhaps, has been much greater than being gay or trans. Trans people interestingly understand this better than most, I think, identifying very often as pansexual, which both takes away the stigma of possibly being bi, leaves your options open, which I think is very, and embraces all sexualities and orientations. Anyway, I came away from that discussion kind of a bit shaken and wasn't at all sure about what I should do. But their faces, when I said, "I've never been bisexual," said it all. Their faces said, "Stop kidding yourself." You have to listen to your friends and to strangers bringing you messages. So to the second half of the story. Sometime before that, I'd signed up for a university research program which is investigating where and how sexual desire and arousal comes from. And the final part of that was just a couple of days ago, and I went to a lab to be wired up in ways that you don't really want to know about, while in an adjoining room the researchers projected onto a big screen very graphic and high quality, I have to say, erotic images. Now, while they were doing that and measuring my responses, I was aware that sometimes the pretty girls were having an effect on me, and aware that they were aware of that as well. So when it was all over and I went out and said, "Did you get some data? Was it any use?" And they were fizzing with excitement because they said, "Yes, here's your chart," and they showed it to me. And it was clear that on occasion some of the very pretty girls were as of much interest to me as some of the beefy guys. And what's more, their interest was that people who identified as bisexual hadn't shown as much variation. Oh my God, I'm sussed. The evidence is there. I cannot deny it. So I now have to ask myself, where has this denial of being pansexual, bisexual come from? And I need to explore that in. But you're the first people to know. So please, if you've got thoughts about that, can you put them below? Let's start a conversation, and I'll come back to it at some point in the future. But I tell you what, I promise, not next week. How about next week we do some baking, or talk about autumn, or have a poem, or whatever. Anything where I don't have to worry about my Willie giving me away. Okay. Have a good weekend. Bye bye for now.